Good morning, everyone. It's March 13th, and we're starting our planning board meeting. We hope everyone had enjoyed the great weather we've had over the past few days. So our first item this morning is item 1C, other preliminary matters, a corrected resolution for the Blair Site Plan Resolution 8/2014-017C, MCPB number 25-008. Do I have a motion for approval of this corrected resolution?
Yeah, move to approve the corrected resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it 4-0. We have two record plats this morning. Subdivision plat number 2, 2024-1220 Clarksburg Town Center, and subdivision plat number 2, 2025-0400 Westwood Square. Both staff is recommending approval. The second one is approval with conditions. Do I have a motion for approval?
Yeah, move to approve with the condition.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it 4-0. We have 3 regulatory extension requests this morning. The first is 500 Valley Brook Drive, extension request number 2. The second is Kingsview Knolls, extension request number 2. And the third is Big Woods Manor, extension request number 2. Do I have a motion for approval of these 3 extension requests?
Yeah, move to approve the extension requests.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it 4-0. Our next item is our roundtable discussion with our planning director, Jason Sartori. Welcome.
Good morning. For the record, Jason Sartori, Planning Director, and I'm thrilled to be here this morning to give my biweekly Planning Director's report. I will note that I won't be here in 2 weeks. I'll be on leave, but I'm sure one of my, if not both, of our deputy directors will be here to give a report to you all. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about some things that we're doing to celebrate Women's History Month, or just to note a couple of recent occurrences around that, and then give one brief personnel update. So it's going to be a pretty quick director's report this morning. So first, I wanted to begin by congratulating the Planning Board Vice Chair, Mitra Pedawim, and CPP's Historic Preservation Supervisor, Rebecca Ballo. They are among the 30 women that the Montgomery County Commission for Women and Montgomery Women are recognizing this Women's History Month for making history and making significant contributions to their professions and communities. Mitra and Rebecca will be featured on the organization's social media platforms throughout this month and will be honored at the 2025 Women Making History Awards and panel discussion on April 3rd. Mitra and Rebecca were chosen from more than 80 nominations. The 30 people being honored were nominated by their peers for their leadership, their dedication, and their impact in areas such as civic engagement, professional excellence, and social change. All nominees live or work in Montgomery County. That was a requirement for receiving this award. Now, Vice Chair Pedawim has been an enthusiastic and highly engaged board member, as you all know, since the County Council appointed her in 2023, and we really appreciate that. From being the only female civil engineering student at the University of Tehran in the 1970s to working her way up to leadership roles at Montgomery Parks and other county and state government agencies, Mitra embodies an inspiring story of perseverance and passion for serving her community. Rebecca joined Montgomery Planning in 2018 and went right to work redirecting the Historic Preservation Office's work program to ensure that Montgomery County's documented histories are inclusive and comprehensive. Her efforts have particularly highlighted underrepresented stories in the county's history. Rebecca is doing so much more. I was honored to nominate Rebecca for this award. I felt that she is doing so much more than just making history in Montgomery County. She is uncovering our history. She's preserving our history. She's restoring it, uplifting it, and celebrating it. And I am in awe of her commitment to the community and her capacity to help our county move forward by ensuring we have a complete understanding of our past. So I congratulate both Mitra and Rebecca on these really well-deserved recognition, this well-reserved recognition, and I'm so grateful that I get the opportunity to work closely with both of them, and as we all do in our capacity here at the Commission. So congratulations. Continuing on with the Women's History Month theme, I mentioned in my last report about our blog post on Vice Chair Pedoweem, but just yesterday we published another blog post featuring the Intake and Regulatory Coordination Division's Kara Farthing. She's an arborist with the department. So Kara's here today this morning as well. I encourage you to check out both posts, but this latest one featuring Kara is a really great read. You can learn about how Kara still finds herself navigating a very male-dominated field. Only about 7% of arborists in the country are women. And Kara is the only woman among Montgomery Planning's 4 arborists. As a forest conservation inspector, she enforces county law, requiring developers and property owners to preserve or replace larger trees and forests amid new construction. She ensures that they meet the requirements of their approved forest conservation plans to spare certain trees, replace others, prevent invasive species from growing, and protect new plantings from deer. Definitely check out this blog post, which also features, includes a great photo of Kara as a child showing her lifelong love of trees. And so these 2 blog posts will be promoted on our social channels during Women's History Month. So we're really glad to be profiling a key member of our team. And finally, one quick personnel update. Carlos Pazmino is the Down County Regulatory Team's newest transportation planner. Carlos was born in Quito, Ecuador, is a native New Yorker, and for the better part of the last 8 years, a DC resident. He attended Georgetown University, where he earned a master's degree in urban and regional planning. Prior to joining the planning department, Carlos worked at DDOT in DC, where he reviewed public space permitting and development for wards 3 and 4. And so we welcome Carlos to our team. And with that, I'm done. I want to see if you have any questions.
Well, thank you for always your informative presentations, Director, and congratulations, Vice Chair Pedoweem and Ms. Ballo, for your awards, Women's Making History. We so appreciate all you bring to the Commission, so thank you so much. And Kara, thank you. You know, we love your energy, enthusiasm, your expertise that you bring to your department. So thank you so much. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to be here. I think that I should say maybe this is my last career, but it has been wonderful to be back home, and I really appreciate it. I just cannot describe how nice and comfortable and how much pleasure I have to be here with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take a 2-minute break and then start out with our next item, item number 5, the Spring 2025 Semi-Annual Outline. Thank you. Good morning again. We're on item number 5, Spring 2025 Semi-Annual Outline. And this morning, we have our directors, Mitty Figueredo and Jason Sartori, to present this item. Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. So as you all know, the Montgomery Parks and Planning Departments are, they're uniquely accountable to the County Council. Unlike other county departments which report to the county executive, we are overseen by the council. So one of the things that we do in order to keep the council informed is, and this is outside the normal legislative and budgetary and land use processes, twice a year we go to the county council and we share with them our accomplishments over the past 6 months or so. And we make the case to them for why we, both of us, Parks and Planning, are a good return on investment, what we're doing, and why we say this implicitly but also explicitly, why we need the funds that we ask for every year in order to do the work that we do on behalf of their constituents. So that's the goal of the semi-annual, and you know, we sometimes take a different approach to how we are doing this, but always it's with a view to sharing with them what we do and why, and making the case to them that we're doing good and valuable work for them. So I'm going to hand it off to my colleague, Jason Sartori, so he can talk a little bit about what the Planning Department is going to be presenting, and then I'll share with you what the Parks Department will be presenting.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're going to, we want to be able to give a summary of the work that we've been doing, and in particular, I always like in the spring semi-annual to be able to give the council an update on the number of development applications that we reviewed in the previous calendar year. So that will certainly be a focus of what we talk about. I will tell you that the numbers are in, and in 2024, there were more than 900 applications that we reviewed of all different types. And so we'll be able to show the council just really just the extensive amount of work that we do. They see all of the master plans that we bring because they all go through them, but they don't see the development review that we take on here at the department and with the board. And so it's good for them to see those numbers. So in just kind of walking through the presentation that I'll give to the council on April 1st, I'm going to start by talking about the Community Planning Academy. As you know, that was something that the County Council funded in FY 2025 and is something that we're really excited about kicking off this June. We'll then go through the development pipeline analysis that we have just embarked on to give them a heads up on that, but also talk about some of the things that we've already found on our pipeline analysis. And then give that development update that I was talking about, the 2024 development at a glance, approvals of plans by different types of plans, and then actually highlight a few of the notable projects that have been approved in the past year. I'll then give a quick update on the various master plan efforts that we have underway, and then I'll do a preview of our budget requests at a high level so that it's a good time to kind of, as Director Figueredo was saying, kind of give that sense of the return on investment that they get. So after talking about all the work that we've done, highlight, and here's what we'd like to be doing in the coming year. And then we always close out with a review of or at least offering up the revised master plan and major project schedule. One thing that is not on here that we may get into a little bit, may not have a slide dedicated to it, but just to highlight the fact that, we have just come out of a strategic planning process. We've told the council about that previously, but as a result of that, one of the things that we're looking at is the department's organization and structure and how we can best do the work that we're expected to do as asked for in Thrive, but also as called out in our strategic plan. So we'll probably make reference to that as well.
Thank you, Director Sartori. Just just hit me that we're going to be doing this on April 1st.
Yes.
I don't know what the significance of that is. So, and at this point, you all are very familiar with what our budget process looks like. Every year, we send over to the county executive a request that covers our compensation, what we refer to as our major known commitments, and usually we ask for a little additional funding for what we call program enhancements. And those program enhancements are a response to the priorities that are set by the planning board and by the county council and are responsive to the needs of the community. And it's not a large amount of money, but it allows us to keep expanding some of the critical programs that we have to offer for a growing county. And then every year, what normally happens is that our request is reduced by the county executive when it goes over to the county council. The county council, almost every year, manages to restore all of the funding to maintain what we refer to as a same services budget, but usually also give us additional funding for some of these program enhancements. So this year in our semi-annual, we decided to take a slightly different approach. Again, with big picture, our goal is the same, but our approach is to share with them what we've accomplished with some of the program enhancements we've received over the last 3 to 5 years or so. So on the semi-annual outline that you've all seen, you can see some of the topics that we're going to cover. We're going to share with them what we've done over the last few years with some of these resources, and some of the program enhancements are listed on there. You'll see we're going to talk about adaptive programming and trail amenities and courts and athletic fields, our activation program, historic and cultural resources, some of the funding they've given us to improve our customer service, and a whole lot more. And then, of course, we're going to talk about what we want to do going forward, and big picture, as Jason was just saying, big picture, high-level overview of what our budget request will include this year in terms of program enhancements, and then we'll wrap it up with letting them know what's coming up just in terms of ribbon cuttings and community events, and we will close it out there.
So thank you so much for this the high-level overview of the semi-annual. I've been here almost 2 years now, and I know I've been through a few of these, and it's a lot. I really appreciate all the hard work you put into it, because it's really important at these hard budget times to really impress upon the county council the value of the work that we do, and especially you do. So thank you for always putting that front and center, and thank you for all the hard work you do in putting together these semi-annual presentations to the council. So do I have any other questions, comments from the board members?
Nobody else. So just a couple of comments. I'm not saying doing it, it's just some comments that you may want to consider. We talked about the priorities for each of your departments, and you have a lot to discuss. I think it would be nice that we talk about the priorities that each of you guys have for your department and how those aligns with the priorities that the council has, and how we could serve and help that they achieve to those priorities. So that's something that it would be good. The other thing is that one thing that, I have been very impressed with the work that you have done, especially like, for the Parks Department. You were talking about the enhancement and how I think that's a very good strategy. You showed us how you planned a comprehensive way for Long Branch. That was very impressive. And I remember that I asked that, we should do that for all our projects. I know that we may not be able to do all of them, but at least we could plan holistically that how to connect all of these parks and how to correct, like a greenway or whatever that you call it, that you approach it for Long Branch. I think this is something that worth talking about and show that, especially that it is in a focus area and what you have done. A lot of people may not be familiar of what you have done. And Jason, you guys are doing so much of the good work. If you have 900 applications, I do not know if it is more or less. I think it would be good that you put it in a context that how we have been able to get more and more done with less and less. You know, if we have more application, more it comes, and how we have been improving the timing, because I think you have a dashboard that shows the timing and average. Those dashboard. The other thing that I have been very impressed with the planning department, it's all of this dashboard and information that you have provided, and you have shown it to us that how we could interactively even look. You just showed us a couple of weeks ago. I think that some of those you could just, if you have time, you could just add a few things to show how you have been using the technology to be more transparent and to show them the good work that you have been doing. Thank you.
You're great suggestions, Vice Chair Pedowin. So thank you so much, and we all look forward to the April 1st semi-annual. Thank you. And we're going to take we're running a little bit ahead of schedule. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Does that work with everyone? Oh, okay, we'll take a 2-minute break and we'll go to our legislative update. Thank you. Good morning. We're on item number 7, legislative update. Our General Counsel, Deborah Borden, and our legislative liaison, Jordan Balcom Colbert, will present this morning. Welcome, Ms. Borden.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. I'm Deborah Borden, for the record, General Counsel for the Commission. I'm here. I have one bill for you this morning, and this is a pleasure for me in particular to present to you. It's House Bill 1525. This is a bill that would place limitations on municipal annexations. So the municipal annexation statute has been largely unchanged since the 1960s. And for our purposes, the Commission, as a public entity, the way the statute is written currently, we have no authority to consent to annexation of property owned by the Commission into any municipality. We have no authority to vote in any referendum concerning an annexation that includes our property. We have no voice and no say. And so back in 2018, there was a large annexation of all either publicly held property, publicly owned property, or it included one property that was owned by a church. We challenged that annexation because we felt that the property, in our view, was very sensitive. It was something that we could envision one day, maybe, wanting to do a P3 type project. And we thought that the way that they were interpreting the old language in the existing statute was without good reasoning or basis. It seemed to be based on very thin logic and legal reasoning. So we did try to convince the court, and we did make it to the Court of Appeals. Our highest court at the time was called the Court of Appeals in 2018, and we lost that case by one vote. So we did manage to convince a number of people that that we were right, but in the end, it didn't go. So this statute would do basically what we tried to do by judicial action. This statute would actually give the Commission consent authority over our own property. And so, and the reason that this has come up now is because a few months ago, Chevrolet had been working with the county on the old hospital site in Prince George's County. There's an old hospital site. The county owns the property. They had been working for a number of years to develop the property as a mixed use public-private partnership. They have a private developer, they had private money, they had public money, they were working on special tax district, probably working on a TIF. You know, these public-private partnerships are very complex and very complicated, and they take years to put together because you're basically leveraging the public funds to get private funds and vice versa. So this had been going on for many years. They were seeing the light at the end of the tunnel on this project, and suddenly a neighboring municipality tried to annex the property. And so that raised a lot of concern, and it raised a lot of eyebrows because nobody expected that. And yet it made me smile because it was exactly what we were talking about back in 2018. And so this is on the radar, I think, of the legislature, and I think that they are, keen to do something to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And so this legislation, the first iteration of the legislation, just talked about legislative districts, saying that the municipality cannot annex outside of its legislative district. The reason that's really important is both representation as well as, the fact that the census determines those boundaries. And if those things are going to change, it tends to change other things and have a ripple effect. And the other thing, we have so there's the original language of the bill, and then we have an amendment that includes the commission. So the proposed amended language that we have received would add a consent requirement for public agencies who own property to be annexed. So the property can't be annexed without their consent. And it includes us as a bi-county commission. And so that makes us very happy because we should have control over the property that we own. We would not anticipate withholding consent for on a whim or for no reason. We would absolutely analyze, as we always do, any situation where we were requested to give our consent. But this gives us the control that we need of our property to make sure that we are, in fact, being good stewards of our property and maintaining, all of the various options that we have today as opposed to in 1960, when the universe of things that public agencies were doing with their property was very small. And now it's, the sky is really the limit. And we are expected to be flexible and want to do things that involve partnerships. So we think this is a good bill to support, and I hope that you can vote to support it with the amendments that we have shown you. I'll stop there and see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Borden, for that great background and summary of the bill and the backstory. So, and we're happy it makes you happy, given the history you've had with this. So, I'm in support of the HB 1525 municipalities annexation limitations with amendments. Any comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve our support of HB 1525 municipalities annexation bill with amendments?
Yeah, I'll move to support the House Bill 1525.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes. The ayes have it, 5-0. Thank you so much. We look forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing you again next week on any other legislative updates. Thank you. And we're going to take a
Thank you.
4-minute break and start our next item number 6, which is preliminary plan number 1/2025-0030 and Forest Conservation Plan F 2025-0100 for Ruby Senior Homes, where staff is recommending approval of the Forest Conservation Plan with conditions and the preliminary plan. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. We're on item number 6, preliminary plan number 1, 2025-0030, and forest conservation plan number F, 2025-0100 for Ruby Senior Homes, where staff is recommending approval with conditions. So this morning, we have Josh Penn with the Planning Department presenting this item. Welcome, Mr. Penn.
Good morning. For the record, Josh Penn with the Up County Planning Division. Today we are, in fact, talking about Ruby Senior Living, also known as Ruby Senior Homes. It's a preliminary plan 12025-0030 and Forest Conservation Plan F2025-0100. Staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plan and of the Forest Conservation Plan. The overview is this is subdivision to create one lot for a residential care facility. Comprises 8 buildings or 120 beds, and it is within the Clarksburg Special Protection Area, so there is a water quality plan element with this application. Just a little background, in January 18th, 2024, the Planning Board saw this plan, and they recommended approval of the use and the preliminary forest conservation plan at the time. It went on to the hearing examiner and got approved on April 16th, 2024. And for the use got approved, and the layout and design has not changed since the approval of the conditional use. So the layout you're seeing is the same layout that went to the hearing examiner. The vicinity you can see here is located at 12405 West Old Baltimore Road and 21908 Ruby Drive. It is west of Maryland 355, north of West Old Baltimore Road. It is zoned R200, but you'll see that the R200 looks much more dense to the west, and that's because there's a TDR overlay zone of 4.0 in those areas. And directly to the north, there is a conditional use for the Goddard School here on the site, what's labeled S2759. Right now, you can see that it consists of 4 pieces of land, lots 1, 2, and 3. Lot 1 is split into 2 parcels. You can see it here on the map with the line. It is platted, is about 4.66 acres prior to dedication, and the property is currently improved with 2 single-family homes and associated outlots here on the southernmost and here in the middle. The proposal is to create one 4.5-acre lot for a residential care facility with 0.08 acres of dedication, is on public water and sewer, and they are providing a buffered 6-foot wide sidewalk along the subject property frontage and also connecting off-site in both directions to complete a network, which I'll show you a little bit later in the presentation. It is in the 1994 Clarksburg Master Plan. You can see it here with a blue star. There's in the Brink Road transition area, there's no site-specific recommendations, but it does kind of look and feel like low residential or low density residential because they split up the buildings into 8 units versus 1 large unit or 1 large building on the site. And it does provide for housing opportunities in the Clarksburg Boys area for residential living rather than single-family living. You can see here the transportation improvements. What we're really focusing on is this connection of the sidewalk from developed to the west and developed to the east as part of previous Clarksburg plans. You can see that they're connecting it to the west about half a lot over, which that's where it ended from the previous plan, all the way over to Red Oak Ridge Lane, or Place, excuse me, and that will include both frontage improvements and off-site frontage improvements. The applicant is very aware of this and is accepting these conditions as the condition of both the MCDOT letter and as part of the plan. It is a forest conservation plan, and it's 1.36 acres of forest on site. That should be 4.66. I don't know where that number came from. Sorry about that error in there. For the net tract areas, sorry, that's just wrong. It's the wrong number. But they are removing all 1.36 acres of forest, and they were providing mitigation off-site, which will be 2.24 acres if it's in the same watershed or prior to a watershed, or 2.92 acres if met elsewhere in the county. There is also a tree variance request. You can see here that there are a number of trees that are being impacted and trees that are being retained. The removed trees are in red circles. The trees saved are in the green squares. The unwarranted hardship has been demonstrated as dictated in the staff report, and they are meeting all the variance findings, and they are providing mitigation at the standard rate of 1 to 4 on site. So staff is recommending approval of the variance request as submitted. With this is in the Clarksburg SPA, so there are extra elements that we look for our water quality plan. It's split into two different agency approvals. You have DPS's approval, which is part of the stormwater management concept process, which DPS has approved their portion of it, and the planning's portion of the water quality plan under Chapter 19, which looks at forest conservation, environmental buffer protection, and impervious surface areas. The FCP does meet all the criteria for 22A, so there's no issue there. There are no environmental features on site except the forest, so there's no issues with buffer protection. And the impervious surface you can see here is the layout to the right. We're at about 34.7%, which is the same as what we saw at time of the conditional use plan. There's been no increase, so staff is supporting the approval of the water quality plan also as part of this application. It does conform with the master plan. Public facilities are adequate, complies with all provisions of the subdivision regulations. The lot is appropriate with respect to size, shape, width, and orientation for the use. It meets all recommendations of Chapter 22A and meets all applicable development standards for the R200 zone. Staff does recommend approval with conditions of both the preliminary plan and of the forest conservation plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your detailed presentation. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Good.
I do have a comment. I recall when this was first in front of us, I think it was a sketch plan, and there was great community input and testimony, and I'm surprised that there's not community input or testimony today. And that's my own comment. Thanks.
Also, I forgot to ask, would the applicant like to make a presentation?
I can make just a few brief remarks and address that comment as well. Elizabeth Rogers, for the record, with Trillium Brewer, pleased to be here on behalf of the applicant. Just so you know, with me here today is Becky Gia on behalf of Worldshine Homes, and Kevin Wong, our civil engineer, and my colleague Stephen Robbins is online. I did also want to acknowledge the efforts of staff. This has been a long process, and particular thanks to Josh Penn, who's been our lead reviewer since the very beginning and has done an excellent job on this application, and we truly appreciate it. And of course to Patrick for all of his leadership. I think this project looks familiar to you. As Josh mentioned, it's substantially similar, or it is substantially similar to the conditional use that you all voted unanimously to approve a little over a year ago. The hearing examiner approved that. Commissioner Bartley mentioned there was a substantial community opposition.
I abstained on that. It wasn't.
Oh, did you abstain on that one? Sorry. Okay. There was community opposition at that time. They also participated at the OZA hearing. A few of them have come to our community meeting that we held on the preliminary plan application, but we've received no other correspondence from them since the hearing examiner approved the conditional use. I think the nice thing with this application, and I know Josh touched on this, and then also we've talked about it with the board before, is this project really addresses a critical need to provide additional senior housing, particularly in an area of the county where there really aren't other assisted living facilities, and it does so in a very compatible way, creating these individual cottage-style homes that fit within the context of the surrounding community while also addressing that need, as opposed to your traditional large single-family senior living use, which is typically in one large structure. Additionally, we've done other things voluntarily, like Josh mentioned, in terms of the extension of the sidewalk on both sides to improve pedestrian connection. That was a big comment we received from the community. Off-site frontage improvements are not required by this application, but we've agreed to do that, recognizing that serves as a larger public benefit to complete that missing sidewalk connection. And the other thing I would just note is, if you recall, during the conditional use, we went through a substantial amount of iterations on this project. A notable one is that we were able to acquire the additional property that fronts on West Old Baltimore Road to take all vehicular access off of Ruby Drive and keep that vehicular access from West Old Baltimore to really respond to and respect the community and those residents that live on Ruby Drive that didn't want that additional traffic coming down their residential street. So there's been a number of substantial changes like that this plan before you today reflects. So with that, we agree with staff's findings and the conditions of approval, but we'd be happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Can you show us on the map the portion of the property that you purchased to to reduce the street traffic that the residents were concerned about? Thanks.
So it was this lot here. This,
Yep.
this lot here is the lot that was purchased. And you see, before they had access coming this way because they didn't own from here to West Old Baltimore Road. And so as part, I think it was just before the conditional use hearing came before you, they had purchased this piece and we included it in that application at that time. And that allowed us to remove all traffic off of Ruby Drive.
Thank you.
We do have one thing that I forgot to mention in the report. In the conditions, under the MCDOT letter, there's a date holder place because we had not received the date of the letter, which I distributed to the staff prior to the hearing. The date will be updated to say March 12th, which is the date of the letter.
I do have another comment. One of the main concerns the community had with regards to this was the traffic patterns and the increase in traffic that would come about. And in particular, there was an intersection that they were concerned about. Does this new interest alleviate the traffic that they anticipated in the intersection, especially during rush hour?
So I don't remember a specific discussion about one particular intersection. There was correspondence, and maybe Josh Penn or someone else can speak to that. I mean, there was a significant concern about the trips coming to and from the site. We did our traffic statement. We had Nancy Randall as our traffic engineer provide a lot of detailed testimony at the time of the OZA hearing. We're looking specifically at the number of employees, the shift change schedule, and how that predominantly fell outside of the peak hours to kind of alleviate their concerns. The main concern we got was kind of the conflict between our traffic with like school bus routes that travel along West Old Baltimore Road, and gave a detailed overview at that stage, and it's in the record, showing how our shift changes didn't overlap with those peak periods to add a significant amount of traffic. Anything you'd add, Kevin?
Josh, just for my information, I guess my engineering mind, what are those squares between in the center? All of those squares, and
These
then they
here?
show one highlighted. Yeah, what are those?
That's the open area. It's a green space with paths so that they can connect between the units. This is kind of how they use the ability to connect the different buildings while providing the facilities in one of the units for cooking and things. They can still deliver to each of the units from that location. That's why you have the unique pathway system going all the way through and around. You can see each of the units is connected in multiple spots to a sidewalk, so that they can get to access for these. And I believe it is this one here that houses the majority of the facilities for the kitchen and stuff, and then they'll be delivering out from there to the residents. But each of the residents will also have a mini kitchenette, I believe is what it was called in the documents, so
I
they can
see.
prepare their own food if they choose, but they will also have catered food from the facility.
see.
And they use this pathway in the green space to both work on design to make it symmetrical
Okay.
to what's going around, but also to provide the systems of what happens on the site.
That's wonderful. So this is all assisted, no regular senior living?
Yes,
Okay.
all assisted.
Okay, thank you.
Hearing no other questions or comments, this is great project. There's definitely a need for senior housing in the county, all types of housing, and including senior housing. It's great that the applicant has provided that connection to sidewalks, added sidewalks that there weren't there before that would connect the east to the west, would make it safer and easier for people to walk around the community, including to this project. So I have no other questions or comments, just out of curiosity though, I know the impervious area is 34.7. Is there a maximum impervious area by code?
The Clarksburg SPA does not have a cap. And so we look at the use and what other uses similar to it have. And then we also look at the underlying zoning. R200 zoning has about 19% impervious average. Conditional uses with this type of thing using one singular footprint are much higher, generally in the 50+ range. This comes in at 34, and we thought it was a good balance between the use and the underlying zone to support the impervious surface, and that's the presentation we made at time of the conditional use also.
Okay, great.
I have one more question, sorry. How do we address affordability? I don't know when it comes to the senior housing and also especially if it is all managed care, Is there any kind of guidelines or anything? I don't know, and I really don't know how affordable it is. I think we see a lot of those coming in, but I hardly see we talk about affordability for this, or I do not know if there are any MPDU guidelines or anything for this kind of stuff. So if you could just shed light on that.
So this project does not require MPDUs because they're not dwelling units, they're beds. And so the code just doesn't address that yet. I know the county is, for several years now, trying to undertake a senior housing task force to kind of look at that and how potentially the MPD ordinance can address kind of other senior living type uses, but nothing has been proposed yet in terms of specific legislation.
Oh, thank you. So I guess that this is something that maybe we could help with county or something to look at, because a good portion of Montgomery County population are aging. And I know that a lot of people are looking for alternative way of living, but many of them are out of reach because it's not affordable. So I do not know if there is anything that we want to look into that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Vice Chair. I believe that, as they said, the DHCA is looking into this now, and so we will have maybe Ms. Scavone speak with us about this the next time she does a presentation, because she meets with them every month or so,
maybe
and
she
so
could give us
yeah,
an
she'll give us an update on that. Yeah. So, hearing no other questions or comments, do I have a motion for approval of preliminary plan 1/2025-0030? Do I have to do this forest conservation separately? Okay, do I have approval of the preliminary plan 1/2025-0030, where staff is recommending approval with conditions?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the preliminary plan.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I shall abstain. Thank you.
Okay. So it's 401. And do I have a motion to approve the Forest Conservation Plan number F 2025-0100 where staff is recommending approval with conditions?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the forest conservation plan.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I shall abstain.
Okay. 401. So this will move forward. Thank you so much. We look forward to having this completed as soon as possible. Do you have a time frame of when you think you may start construction and when you think it will be completed?
We are moving forward on the other of the permit, erosion sediment control permit and the right-of-way permit for this project. And also we are currently working on the WSSC permit. So we like to get the construction going as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you. Would that like this year or? You think?
Hopefully at the end of this year we can start.
Okay. We're not committing you to it. So, but thank you. It's good to know. So, thank you so much. This ends our planning board meeting for today. We thank everyone that participated, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.